Maybe your stupid opinions aren't right. And like, are you so sure your life is going so much the way you want it to go, and you're such a bloody paragon of virtue, and the light is shining out every orifice, and everyone who disabuses you of your notions is evil?
Mic check. Yo, let's check it out. What's up, y'all? It is MCM, and this is You're Probably Right, and you are welcome at my house anytime. So check it out. You may be wondering why my voice sounds like this. Well, guess what? The Rona caught me. COVID-19, y'all. I wonder if that's going to mean nobody's going to listen to my podcast because I said COVID-19. Or does it mean more people will listen to my podcast because I said COVID-19? 19 COVID. All right. Here we go. It's a different day today. I'm checking out some new equipment. So here I am using a not so great interface, but a very tried, tested, and true microphone. You know, that good, nice black one that everybody seems to need if they have a podcast. Yeah, I'm using the SM7B by Shure. So we'll see how Shure it is. All right. So let's go. I wanted to have a conversation about anti-Black racism today. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off of the first site that I see on the web as I pull it up. And I'm going to be honest with you, I so far haven't agreed with so many different things about this so-called anti-Black racism movement in the different venues and institutions that have been supposedly pulling alongside the Black community for the betterment of the Black community and the greater public in society. There's so many things that I could say being a Black person, so it's not like I feel like I'm out of pocket or out of my lane. It's straight down my alley as far as I'm concerned. But of course, I've also realized that the narrative isn't really to hear what or feel what people like myself feel about the topic. And what do I mean? Why does it sound like I'm talking in parables? I'll let you know in a second, but I'm going to pull up that site that I pulled up before, and that was the BML. Was it? The Black Lives Matter. Let's see. I wonder if that's the website. 'Tis the website, and they didn't bring me to it. Okay. Let's see. Well, you know, you can hang out. Listen to the beats behind my voice. And when you don't hear my voice, just listen to the beats. Okay. I know it sounds corny, but let's see. I shouldn't have clicked on that website in the first place. That is the issue. Okay, let's try it again. Sorry about the noise in the background. At home, as you know. So when you're at home, people tend to walk around, and if you got a creaky house, then it just makes everything worse. Isn't this funny? This website used to be the first thing you'd pull up. Now it's not. Like, it's Instagram. Oh, for goodness sakes. All right. Let me just do it this way then. I've pulled this up before because I've literally talked about it before. Here we go. What's going on? We are checking your browser? Okay, that's what it is. They won't even let you to the site now. Okay, whatever. Sorry, I'm so far from this thing. I think I gotta move over. All right, well, let's see how many images of buses we see. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. That's a train. That's a train. Hopefully you'll... Oh my goodness. Please click each image containing a bus. Okay, there's a bus. There's a bus. There's a bus. And there's a bus. Verify. Yay! I'm human. Okay, there is a creepy... I don't know what that is. All right. About us. That's all I want. About Black Lives Matter. Okay. We are expansive, are you? Okay. So that's not even the point, but I'm not gonna sit there on that site. Hang on a second. Okay. So let's just see what this thing is really saying here. All right. You know what? I'm going to give you a funny story. It's not really a funny story, to tell you the truth. But what happened was with my COVID, since I did tell you that I got it, Thursday, I actually left the house and I went to get a suit for my favorite aunt's funeral. Now, I say my favorite aunt because she was my closest aunt, because she was the aunt that was in my life for years and years. And actually, when her husband passed away while they were living in England, and both young and about 30, he passed away, and she brought her 5 children to Canada to live with my family. One of the children left, was barely there. And then the other ones were living with us for, I think, the next 5 or 6 years. But I can't remember, and they could probably tell you better, but it's my podcast. So I'll just say they lived with us for 5 years. And after that, they moved out. But anyhow, I still had a great relationship with that aunt. And sadly, she passed away last week, and we buried her. So anyhow, I was on my way to go and buy a suit. And the weather in Toronto here, it warmed up. It went from Wednesday, it was like -2, to Thursday, we're at +17. And I'm talking about Celsius for those people who are within the Fahrenheit game. And needless to say, people usually open their coats, and I'm usually the person who's dreading opening my coat and taking off the hat and stuff, because I know that if you're out in the sun and then, maybe you're shopping or whatever you're doing, and then you end up coming home around 4 or 5, 6 in the evening, all of a sudden the weather shifts and it'll probably be close to 0, if not 0, or windy enough that it'll just feel like 0. Anyway, that's exactly what happened. And I did feel weird at one point when I was out there and I put my hood on, but whatever. Anyhow, Friday came along and I wasn't feeling that great. Woke up. I'm like, oh boy, I probably got a little draft. Let me take one of these box joints just to make sure. So I took a rapid test, and lo and behold, nothing. So I said, good, because Thursday I gotta be, what's it called again? A pallbearer for my aunt. And my cousin asked me, and I was just so honored that I was even being allowed to do it, knowing that we have other people that maybe they would have preferred to do it. I don't know per se, but anyhow, usually it's something left for the men of the families. And my brother had passed away, and a few other people weren't in the area. So anyhow, I got asked, and I wanted to go. So Saturday morning comes along, and I'm like, listen, I don't want to make anybody sick. Let me test it again. Test it again. Surefire, nothing. So I'm like, cool. And this was one of the rapid response tests that they give us here in Toronto, and they give it to you free at Shoppers Drug Mart. And anyhow, I went to the funeral, and I still wasn't feeling that great, and I tried to be standoffish. But the funny thing is with funerals, it's like, and you can look at this as as a public service announcement or whatever, but if you feel sick at all, I would encourage you not to go to wherever you're going, especially if it's a funeral. Not so much if it's a wedding, not so much if it's even work or school, but but a funeral is a different level, because just like a wedding and just like Easter Sunday or Good Friday or Christmas, you see a lot of people you haven't seen there for a long time. And it could be you who hasn't been to that church or that around that gathering or those set of people for a long time, or it could be others. So things tend to get a little sticky. There's people you're not going to be too enthused to see. There's going to be people there who you wish you didn't have to see. There are going to be people who you are so happy you're going to see or you see. And then there's just going to be everyone else. And needless to say, I had to greet a lot of people, and it still wasn't even that many people. But when you're talking about COVID, 2 people is a lot of people, really, because if you're giving hugs and kisses or whatever it is, or consoling someone and you have COVID, then you're giving them that gift that keeps on giving. You know what I mean? So anyhow, I did my duty as a pallbearer. I went up and spoke for a couple minutes at the funeral, and I got home and I wasn't feeling too good. I took everything off and just laid in bed, and I fell asleep, and I woke up, and I fell asleep, and I woke up, and Sunday rolls around. I'm like, oh man, I don't feel good. So anyhow, in the afternoon, I took 2 tests. So I'm just being straight up with the story, just giving you my little COVID story, I guess. Everybody else has. I mean, I could be talking about Will Smith and Chris Rock and give you my 2 cents about that. Maybe I will too. But I took the rapid response one, and I took the rapid test device, nasal, antigen, whatever, Panbio, by Abbott, whatever it is. All I know is I took both these tests at the exact same time. They're slightly different, but pretty much the same concept. And lo and behold, and I even videotaped them turning to 2 slashes or 2 strikes on each of the tests. And I was like, oh boy. And, I'm thinking about it. Over the last 2 years since COVID's been a thing, I was always wondering, how is this thing really moving? Like, once you get it, you lock yourself down, you let everybody know that you possibly came into contact with, that you can possibly remember, and say for the last day or 2, whatever it is, or close contacts, and you should be able to nip it in the bud, and hopefully those people who you tell will do the same. But what I found out was, because it was a funeral, as I said, I had to greet people I wouldn't normally greet. I hugged people I shouldn't have hugged. I shouldn't have hugged anybody, period. But the problem is, it's like you go to these places like a funeral and you feel ways. If you standoffish, people are going to look at you sideways and say, okay, yeah, so now I know why you haven't been around, or why you don't invite me anywhere, or the story goes on, and maybe most of that narrative is actually in your own head. You want to come close and meet your people, and you want to be able to console people and stuff, you know what I mean? So anyhow, fast forward back to Sunday, and I had to message, it was a Sunday or Monday, I had to message everyone, including the immediate, like the children of my aunt, to say, guys, I'm sorry, and this is the only ones that I have the numbers for, to say, I have COVID. So we basically spread it around. Yes, call me Typhoid Mary. Unfortunately, I might have passed it on to somebody. Luckily, most of the gathering that I did was outside, and I did try not to really breathe on anyone. So, I haven't heard any stories yet. This is now 3 days later, so hopefully nobody caught it from me. And also, I usually catch a draft when those big weather shifts happen in the spring and the wind's blowing. So, now that it is April, you kind of figure that maybe I just have my regular like spring type of flu or bad cold, and these amazing tests that were created before the strain of COVID, if I have it at all, was even out. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it just detected a flu on me or a bad cold on me, because I don't know who I got it from. But I mean, it is what it is. And, it's just my 2 cents. All right. So moving right along, let's get into this website now. Now, I haven't even read this website, and I prefer it this way. So if they are talking total nonsense, it's not that I cherry picked this information and said, oh, let me go to this website and tear them a new way. Right? I'm not doing that at all. I'm just going to. So here we are. We're at the Black Health Alliance, and it's .ca, so it's Canadian. So I'm just going to read what they have to say. Maybe I agree with everything they have to say here. Let's see. Anti-Black racism definition in history. Anti-Black racism is defined here as policies and practices rooted in Canadian institutions such as education, healthcare, and justice that mirror and reinforce beliefs, attitudes, prejudice, stereotyping, and or discrimination towards people of Black African descent. And that's just the first 2 lines. How can I say this? Listen, best thing I could say, I'll use a term from these youngsters these days. There's levels to this. Yeah, you heard the silence at the end, right? Yeah, there's levels to this. Because the people who are Black and are of African descent, there's the West Indian Black people, there are the African Black people, there are the 3 or 4 generations of Canadian Black people, there are the Black people in Canada that came over from the United States, Black people from the South, and some via the West Indies again, and Europe. And there's different levels to that treatment that you're talking about. And there's also the people who are very friendly with people from these places. Before I go on about these guys, I will tell you, I listened to a guy speak yesterday, and I'm assuming the people from that website are probably not very fond of him. But let me just pick up his name. Pick out his name. What's his name? Oh, John McWhorter. And he was speaking with Jordan Peterson, Dr. Jordan Peterson. And it was a nice conversation. Very seldom do you listen to Jordan Peterson speak to somebody who has the same level or higher linguistic ability. And this guy actually works in linguistics. And I noticed that their vocabulary was quite similar. And there was nothing that was said that seemed to be just out there. Sometimes Jordan Peterson will speak to somebody and he'll say a certain word, and you can see that they don't quite 100% understand the phrase or the word that he speaks, so they kind of just let it go. But fortunately, John McWhorter, I hope I'm saying his name right. You probably never hear this anyways. He's associate professor of linguistics at Columbia University right now, and he's taught at other more prestigious places as well. And it was interesting to hear them to go back and forth on certain things. And also, another person that would totally be against that website that I was reading would be Thomas Sowell. Soul. I don't even know. I can't even say his name properly. Let me see if I can. I'm not going to even attempt to do it. So let me just do it this way. Luckily, my typing isn't that slow. So I'm going to spell his name just, for better. But obviously Thomas and Sowell. Sowell. Totally against a lot of this, almost all of it, anti-Black racism stuff. He gives a lot of reasons as to why Africa is the way it is, and the sub-Saharan Africa, explaining the water. I've never actually heard it spoke about in that way, and it was from his book. Somebody else was reading it, I think, or it might have been him. But he was explaining how the water that gets close to the sub-Saharan African countries is usually less, like the rivers that flow through there or close to there, even if they're within 500 kilometers? I can't remember what it was, but the point is that the water that comes close, which you'd be able to ship all kinds of things in and out of there, can be as shallow as 8 feet or even less than that, and meaning that you can't get those huge big barges and those huge big ships in there to bring in product and take out product. And he explained the difficulties as to why those countries are prospering the way they are, or lack thereof prosperity. So all I would say, but I guess I won't say that yet. Let me just go back to this website. That was a little segue there, but I can't say I agree, but I do agree in some ways. The institutions, education, healthcare, the justice system, they're mirroring and reinforcing the attitudes and prejudices and stereotypes against Black people. But I guess all I would have to say against that is that there are different levels. There are varying levels of racism against people of African descent. Funny enough, I'm going to just read the next part. Let's go. Okay. The term anti-Black racism was first expressed, supposedly, by Dr. Akua Benjamin, a Ryerson social work professor. It seeks to highlight the unique nature of systemic racism on Black Canadians and the history, as well as experiences of slavery and colonization of people of Black African descent in Canada. Now, it's funny. I don't know who Akua Benjamin is, but it's kind of cool that they actually taught at a school that I didn't go to, but I am quite familiar with, because I know somebody very close to me who went to that school and actually graduated with a degree from that school that this professor we are speaking about taught at. But I want to see who this person is, so I'm slapping him in Google. Hit that, boom, bap, and let me see image. Okay, and it is, I would like to say it's a woman. And that's what I would say. Okay, so the funny thing is, now I can't say anything about the name, really, but here's a fun fact for you. A couple fun facts, and they're quite alarming for me, to tell you the truth. One thing I do know about the School of Social Work, or the humanities in general, at Ryerson, where this Dr. Benjamin works at, or used to work at. Not sure if she's still there or not. I sat through their 2000 graduation. Was it 2000? Let's see, I graduated. I believe it was 2000. Yeah, the 2000 graduation. And what I found out was there were very, 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 very few West Indian black people of the people who are of black African descent. I would say the majority of them had straight up African type names. Like, you look at my name, it's not something you would categorize as a black name. Now, yes, Michael, my first name. Yeah, great. So there's Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson, Mike Jackson. But my point is, it's not like something that sounds more African, like Akua or Hakuna or anything like that. Like, all of the names that I was reading and hearing, because there was an online graduation, I'm looking at the people, and usually, it's funny, but West Indian people, black people on a whole, you can usually look you're fooled sometimes, obviously, but the people, in other words, what I'm saying is the people who were graduating were people who were definitely of closer African descent than people from a place like Jamaica, where my family is from. And I was happy to see them graduating, and there was a good number of them, but there was a lack of a number of, say, West Indian or Canadian West Indian students, black students. And I've noticed this for a while, and is the work too difficult? Let's see. You're speaking to someone whose education has a lot of gaps from the age of, I've talked about this before, but from the age of, say, 8 all the way to 12, I had a lot of learning gaps for various reasons, most of which were bullying and not being able to pay attention to my work, and the time that was being put in with me reading, and a few other things. But anyway, I'm just saying that, one thing I'm recognizing, and maybe you will if you live in Toronto, or if you live in, I guess, anywhere who, say, in the 80s or 90s, you would have recognized right away a real fresh Jamaican accent. I'm going to keep it to Jamaica because that's what I know about. I'm not going to talk about Trinidad, St. Kitts, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, or, any of those other places. Barbados, Grenada. I'm not going to talk about them because I don't know for sure, and only they could say. And one thing I can tell you is I hear very few real Jamaican accents now in Toronto. For me, it's disheartening. It's a little bit sad. I can understand it, though, in a sense. And the reason why I can understand it is because in the 90s, there was supposedly, there was a lot of crime happening in Jamaica. And a lot of the people who were coming up from Jamaica were coming up to Canada and embroiled in a lot of different unsavory operations. Is that a nice way to say it, or just beat around the bush? There was a lot of problems, and they said that at one point that per capita, I guess when you put their small population up against other places, apparently there was at one point where Kingston, Jamaica was the murder capital of the world. There was a lot of unsavory things happening, and I can say that from say 95 on, it's been very difficult to be from Jamaica coming into this country, and they slowly tightened the grip on all of the other West Indian countries as well, including nice places like Trinidad and maybe Barbados. But it is what it is, right? So let's go. How does anti-Black racism impact health? Let's see. Racism can cause frequent stress on the body and trigger stress coping behaviors such as smoking that often lead to disease. Well, my family's been in Canada since the 60s, and I can honestly tell you only one person that I know smokes, and that person has passed away. So, yeah, we had stress, but I mean, slavery, real slavery. I would assume that'd be stress on your body. Yeah, that one just seems like it was just added in there, but whatever. A study investigated the possibility of links between Canadian race, experiences of discrimination, and risk for a disease such as high blood pressure. Found Black Canadians were almost 2 times more likely than white Canadians to be treated badly or with less respect. Okay, I don't even think I'm going to focus on this anymore. Okay, let's see. I'm just finished the last line here of that thought. Frequent experiences of discrimination were linked with a greater chance of obesity and low self-rated health. Well, we got some obesity, but I would just say it's because people like food. I really don't know, guys. Greater chance of obesity and low self-rated health. Okay, let's see the next line. In Toronto, Black Canadians often face service deserts, a lack of safe, inexpensive, and ineffective health care and community services in their communities. That doesn't feel right either. Listen, I can honestly tell you, it's not like I'm coming from some place of affluence. So don't think, oh yeah, well, you're Uncle Tom and somehow your experiences as a Black person were better than everyone else's. No, both my parents were seriously blue collar, like forget about blue collar. They didn't even have a collar. Both my parents worked frontline jobs and were definitely not seen as middle class. At least, I grew up thinking that we were middle class, but as I learned about economics and finances, I realized we weren't middle class. And I go on with that joke is we were too rich to be poor and too poor to be rich. So, we definitely weren't middle class. So I can say that my doctors, ever since I was 4, all the way up until the age of 45, I think, I had the same doctor who just decided to retire when they changed the rules in Toronto here. I don't know what they did do. I don't know. But my doctor was Jewish. And when my father got sick with Parkinson's and was unable to go and see him, and it's not like, okay, first of all, he would do house calls. And I think some doctors back in the day did do them, but probably not way up until 2005, which is when my father passed away. So he was doing house calls at least up until 2004, probably 2004, because he passed away early 2005. But he was doing that, and it wasn't like he was doing it for a man who was regularly in his office. My father pretty much never went in his office, and if anything, the doctor was just a good man. And I don't know, maybe you can say that at the hospital, maybe dealing with his Parkinson's, maybe he got worse. I don't know. I always felt I got the best care and the best consideration whenever I had ailments. Unless maybe he was in a bad mood, but he was a crabby old guy, but a nice old guy. Shout out to my doctor. Who is my doctor? I can't say his name on here. But he was a great doctor. Let's see. A report about sexual health education and services needed for Toronto youth found Black youth were the only group of youth that pointed to racism as a key factor preventing them from using sexual health clinics. Okay. You know what? I'm not gonna read any more of this. I gotta read a little more. I haven't agreed with much, and I'm not trying to be negative, but at the same time, I want to be real. What else you got? How can we fight anti-Black racism? Okay, let's see. Acknowledge anti-Black racism exists. Okay, and that it has an impact on the health and well-being of Black Canadians. Acknowledging that it exists is not going to help anything, but whatever, sure. Okay, it fills up the page, I guess. Eliminating anti-Black racism requires support from all levels of government, institutions, businesses, schools, healthcare and social service, and community agencies and individuals. All right, well, great. But I'd like to let you know that they're cutting down the amount of Black people that they're letting into this country. And if you don't know that, well, whatever. All these amazing things they're doing for us, you have no clue what's happening right now. Anyhow, let's see. Take a look at how or if your organization's agency is being exclusive and easily accessible to Black Canadians. How about just to all people, man? Join the Black Health Alliance in working towards finding ways to address anti-Black racism in order to improve the health and well-being of Black Canadians. I'll just read this last piece here. When governments, healthcare, and social service organizations, employees, and community members work together to eliminate anti-Black racism in healthcare and beyond, all Canadians benefit. Join us and many more as we work together to accomplish this goal. Okay. Well, I agree that there shouldn't be racism. I don't think it should be called anti-Black racism. I think bigotry was good enough, and I believe that, yes, the institutions should be open to helping all cultures, but the fact of the matter is most people prefer their own. It's something natural in you. It's probably some type of a, mechanism in you. Just, you see somebody with your color, you might more or less try to lead towards them when you're hiring, possibly. I can't say that Black people do that now. But the Black community knows. That's all I'm going to say. This was interesting, but I'll leave this alone and leave it where it's at. Okay. And do we want to talk about Slick Willie Styles? Do we want to talk about Big Willie Styles? Not really, but let's just see what the latest news is on the Willster. I'm just going to click on his name and see what pops up. Willard Carroll Smith II. I didn't even know that. Carol, huh? All right, Carol. Carol O'Connor. Poor dude. Yeah, they got the big. Let's see. They're gonna go. Did somebody add something to this page already? Let's see. Academy Award confrontation. Jeez, they just 2022 for this dude. During the 1994 Academy Award on March 27, 2022. Smith walked on stage and slapped presenter and comedian Chris Rock after Rock's joke about his wife Jada Pinkett Smith's shaved head, with reference to the film G.I. Jane. Smith then returned to his seat and yelled to Rock, let's see if they're really getting the cuss words in here, saying, "Keep my wife's name out." Oh, jeez, they put it there, eh? Okay. Anyhow, I'm not gonna say anything. All I know is it shouldn't have happened, but I'm not surprised. And if you say that you're surprised, actually, no, I'm not gonna say I'm not surprised. The whole point, the only thing I'm actually literally surprised about, and I've said it to a few people already, is how in the world did this 200-pound black man, 6'2" haul off and slap this 5'9" 150-pound black man in the face, and that man only took one step back, raised his hand like he had to protect himself, and then stood right back up and made jokes as Will walked off the stage, waving his arms like George Jefferson, looking into the sky, back to his seat. I don't get it. I don't get it how that man didn't fall. I don't get how that man didn't rub his face. That's why up until now I'm thinking, you know what, with all the other stunts from skydiving to diving into 100 feet pool, swimming pools and all the other crazy stuff that Will's done, it's like it almost feels like it was fake, you know? But as Joe Rogan was saying, from all that swearing and lip quivering, anger from the seat, that's what gave it all its reality, if it's really real. Or is he just trying to show how much of an amazing actor he really is? It's kind of funny, you know, you're watching things on TV or video nowadays and you can't even believe your own eyes. That's what this world has become. We're still literally saying that we saw it, but it still doesn't seem like it was real. You know how, you know, every action has an opposite and equal reaction, one of Newton's laws. It just doesn't seem like the slap and the way that he reacted to the slap doesn't seem like it was true. You know what I mean? And that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I know about it. I mean, let's see. Let's just say it was fake. It gave Chris Rock more publicity. It actually gave them both more publicity. Not that the Oscar wouldn't have helped Will in the first place, but gave Chris a lot more popularity. I know some people are saying, "Oh, Jada has what is it? An autoimmune disorder." Listen, alopecia, yes, it is exactly that, but last time I checked, if I had something really horrible about myself, first of all, I've never been in a position where financially stable and living on the good side of whatever town that I can just say, you know what? I'm going to display this for views and likes on social media about myself. I'm also going to shave my head to make sure everybody knows that this is the situation. And I'm going to sit in the front row where I can display my autoimmune disorder that I'm so embarrassed about that I brought to the attention of everybody instead of just putting on one of my wigs like I would do for one of my movies. Listen, there's very few things from that situation that I believe in. And if all that openness and entanglement and alga alcinament is the mainstays of their life and all the other crazy stuff that people say about that situation that have never really been fully properly cleared up. I know they did the table talk, and I know they did the outing of will and embarrassment, and we ride together, we die together, or whatever it is, bad marriage for life, whatever the big joke was. But that all seems very uncomfortable. So anyhow, I'm gonna cut off. It looks like this is about as far as my COVID throat will let me go. But I mean, I know at the end of the day, for this situation with Will Smith, everybody's already talking to death. There's jokes and jokes and jokes about it. Listen, we're talking about rich people here. Yes, they are people. Chris Rock is a person. You feel bad what happened to him if it was real. And if it was fake and it was brought on by the both of them, smart, tricky. Probably even deterred everybody from paying attention to what's going on in the Ukraine. But again, hopefully if it is real, that Will get himself some help, and if Chris needs some help as well, then hope he gets that too. And hopefully they can still keep giving into the communities that they've been giving to, because apparently they're both pretty giving guys and their philanthropy is well known, or not. Hopefully everything is good. Anyhow, it's been another edition of You're Probably Right podcast. I am MCM and I am out. Oh yeah, you can drop a note and let me know how this microphone works. I've now changed microphones about 3 or 4 times, and hopefully this one was good. Take care. Wait, hold on. I forgot to say something. Listen, one thing that I've learned after listening to so much anti-black racism and social justice stuff is, first of all, if you have to place something as in a word before the word justice, then you have just perverted justice. You don't need social justice in front of the word, or you don't need social in front of the word justice. You just need the word just. And who is just? God is just. We serve as Christians a just God. And another thing, be careful about allowing people to stuff their or society's narrative down your throat and agreeing to whatever the common cause or narrative of the day is. People should be willing to hear both sides of an argument and deduce whether or not whichever side they agree with makes sense to them. So I prefer the term teaching people how to think rather than teaching people what to think. Anyhow, again, signing off. Take care. It's MCM. You're probably right. If you don't agree with what I'm saying. Nah, I think you're probably wrong this time. Take care. Hey, come check out You Probably Right podcast. Society is getting more unpredictable every day, but at the same time, predictable in its unpredictability. Say that 4 times real fast. Come with me as I attempt to find clarity in all the fog while staying way outside the box and kicking the box way down the road with my size 12 dogs. I use the Bible, experience, education, fortune, misfortune, life's lessons, life's mistakes to sort through all the mess. I talk about news, God, God, self-help, sports, sickness, health, music, parenting, love, humbleness, hurt, pain, joy, and all the things that might make you say, I never thought of it that way. Hopefully, anyway. Also, I take a stab at answering tough and not so tough questions, and all the while understand that, listen, sometimes you end up in the hot seat and there's no thermostat. Well, that's how it is here. And because there's no topic, very few topics off the table, Torontonians will understand that Doug Ford reference there. Hopefully the podcast will be helpful and uplifting. And hey, maybe you'll find your own private Idaho here somewhere. Hope to see you soon.